So, mods. Now, mods essentially are battery tubes. I showed you the various different batteries, and really what a mod is it's something that, you know, basically takes a battery, and it's something that has a connection on it so that then you can screw on the atomizer, which we'll talk about shortly. So mods come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. The fundamental thing about them is whether or not they're regulated or they're not regulated. Now this purely means that whether or not there is circuitry within it to actually control the power output. So if you take something like this, which is a Nemesis here, this, as you see, it has a connection on the top, a 510 connection, so basically that's where you screw in your atomizer into it. But when you actually take it apart, what you'll see is that there's a battery inside it. This is an 18500 in this particular case. And looking inside it, you'll see that there's essentially nothing other than a contact at the bottom. And then if you look at the top, which fits onto it, there's your contact for the top. And between that and the connector at the top is nothing other than, well, it's a silver plated screw in this particular case here. So what this means is when you put in an 18500 battery into this and you screw the top onto it, and in this case it fires from the bottom, so you can see that there's a little recess there. If you push that, that sends power out through the top. That essentially what this will do is when you have something on it, and let's put something on here, and this is a K-Fun that's on it at the moment, that when you press that, there will be vapor coming out of this. Now, as the life of the battery diminishes, it'll start off, and I'm not going to get into figures and everything because that's not what this is about, but essentially what happens is that when you put it in after charging it, it is going to have its maximum amount of power in there, which is about 4.2 volts. But then as you use it, that power diminishes. So as it's running out, the amount of power that it's putting into this is getting less, so the amount of vapor production is going to decrease as the battery actually loses some of its charge. Now you then can go to something like this here, which is regulated. Now this is a Provari, and many of you, it's got a different skin on it here, but you may well have heard of these things before. And you know, they're quite expensive, but they're a very robust, very, very good mod. Now the situation with this one is that, again, what you do is you put a battery. There's an 18350 battery in this one at the moment, so there's the battery that goes in there. But if you look at it from the side, you'll see that the battery is only taking up about that much, and then we've got all this part here at the top, and that's the electronics. And what the electronics basically do in a mod such as this is they regulate the battery. So what they do is, rather than the battery slowly, you know, putting out less power as it's running out, as it does in the case of a mechanical mod, because this is a mechanical mod, in a regulated mod, the electronics here suck the power out of it to basically give you a set amount of power coming out of the top, up until the point that the battery cannot give that power anymore. So what this is doing is it's sucking the power out of it. So as it starts to drain, in the case of a mechanical mod, you know, your power level is going down. In this case, this is actually drawing the power out of it. So you're still getting the same level of power up until the point that the battery can't sustain that anymore, in which case then it just stops, and that's it, and you have to put in a new one and you recharge it. So that's essentially it, the difference between, you know, a mechanical mod and which is this, and a regulated mod, which is something like this. But there are stacks of them around. I mean, there's an EVIC And now it's got a bod body on it, so it looks a little bit different than some of the other ones. But again, in this particular case, it is an electronic one, you can see there. So again, it is a regulated one. Going back to our battery that we showed earlier on, this one here, by the way, is regulated also. This is because essentially it's got some electronics in there which will always maintain the same amount of power coming out of the top of it. One of the areas about mechanical mods, some people don't like them because they don't like the drop off in power. But one of the areas about them which is kind of cool is the fact that there are so many different ones out there. Now, as I showed you, that's a brass Nemesis there. There's another Nemesis. Again, this is at 18500 size, but like all mechanicals, or like most mechanicals, you can buy different tube lengths for them. So you can have them really short or you can have them longer. So, you know, in each case, with most mods, you'll be able to have 18350, 18500 and 18650, you know, so you can have them at different sizes. 18500 is my preferred size because there's enough charge in it to last for a period of time, but the mod doesn't come too big, you know, as a consequence of it. Then you get mad looking stuff like this here. I mean, there's another mod. What's common to all of them is a connection at the top to put your atomizer on. And then also, in this case, it's a firing button at the bottom. In the case of the Nemesis, as I showed you again, it's a firing button at the bottom. In the case of something like this, which is a beautiful, beautiful little mod, again, we've got our connection at the top. There's an 18500 in this particular one. It's very, very slim. That's because the walls, the metal is very, very thin on this one. But in this particular case, you actually fire it from up here, and what you have there is a touch sensitive button. You're not actually pushing it in. As soon as it makes contact with your finger, it's sending the power up. And to lock this particular one, you turn that ring around like that, so now you can't touch it, so it won't actually fire. So that's it about batteries really, and mods more particularly. Just to show you another one, and I mean I could go on showing them to you forever, but here's another very popular one. Now this is the version 1. There's a version 2 out at the moment, and basically what this is a variable voltage mod, but it has got a massive battery in it. Now it's a chunky thing, but at the same time it means that you go 2 or 3 days without having to recharge it without any problem at all. Also a handy one in this particular case is at the bottom you've actually got a port where you can actually connect your phone to it and use it as an extra battery or a charger for any USB charged device. So that's basically mods covered off.